Hi. So, to stir up the atmosphere, I'm going to ask you a question. And if that relates to you, raise your hand, okay? Raise your hand if you know more than one language. Wow. Might be all of this room, okay? Raise your hand if you think you spend more time learning foreign language than your mother tongue. Plenty of you. Okay, last question. Raise your hand if you think learning foreign languages are harder than learning your mother tongue. Okay, thanks. So, for most of us, as foreign language learners, we're familiar with this kind of marketing. English, the key to success, or English, the pathway to globalization. You see, parents, they would go to any lengths for the children to have the best foreign language education. But would they give as much thought on how the native tongue is being taught to their children? If that's all true, if learning foreign languages is the ultimate key to recognition and success and globalization, then does our mother tongue still hold any remaining value, anything unique, or is it just replaceable by any other language out there? That's what I've been questioning about. The uniqueness of my mother tongue among 7,000 others. But let's go back to how I learned my mother tongue. So I was surrounded by the embrace of my mother tongue. For every waking moment, I'll be thinking, talking, or listening in my mother tongue. Because I was in constant contact with the language, learning it feels effortless. Learning it feels like not learning at all. It feels like I'm picking up something that is embedded in my genes, something that is inborn in me, not something I've learned along the way. Unlike learning foreign languages, I don't even have to actively search for learning materials like vocabulary or grammar in order to understand and speak my mother tongue well. In fact, I don't even have to know properly the grammar rules of my mother tongue in order to speak it well, and I speak my mother tongue way better than I do in English, the language which I spent 10 years learning rules. Everything about my mother tongue comes naturally and unconsciously, like the process of absorption of a sponge that you use for dishwashing, right? When you're directly looking at it, you're not picking up much. But after time, you've seen that you've accumulated a plenty of knowledge, right? But I'm not here to talk about how simple learning our mother tongue is. I'm talking about how that simplicity make us end up taking our mother tongue for granted. We go from being the masters of our mother tongue to seeing it as the mere tool for communication. As natives, because we're so biased, because learning our mother tongue is easy, so we always look at it with a very biased point of view, not something that worth learning or considering about. So at school, I was constantly taught about the values of my mother tongue, of how certain words carry melodies through tones, or the richness in vocabulary. But I couldn't understand any of them. It feels like I'm learning something that is separated from me. It feels like me learning the language and me loving the language are two different things. Why would something so obvious and learnable could be considered a uniqueness? As the wise man has said, something that is easy wouldn't be valued as much as something hard to perceive or attain, right? And that works the same for my mother tongue. I end up taking it for granted. But that disconnection made me wonder if all that is taught at school was real, if all those lessons are actually something, then what is that one thing, that one lesson that I haven't seen that makes my mother tongue irreplaceable from all those big languages? What is something that, as a native speaker, I've never seen before that makes my mother tongue so valuable from others? It took me years to answer this question. As a student specializing in English, I spent 10 years and hundreds of hours learning a language. And I realized that the key to understanding my mother tongue is learning new languages. Because we're so biased as natives when we're looking at mother tongue, why don't we take a step back and step into the shoes of another language to look at our mother tongue more impartially? To look at our mother tongue the way that we never did before, to see how it is different. Why does a foreigner think learning our mother tongue is hard? I have to find out, so I decided to learn a new language. It turns out that learning new language is a key to globalization and also an access, a medium to understand the closest things around me, to understand what is in me, the inner self of me. It's not just for reaching out, but it's also for reaching in. I found a way to embrace my mother tongue through a completely unfamiliar language. So, all of you might think that in order to achieve this, you have to, reach a very high level of linguistic knowledge. But it turns out that it starts with the simplest steps, and anyone here can achieve it. Wherever you're at in your language learning endeavor, you have something new to learn about your mother tongue. Let's think about this for a second. Have you ever had this feeling? And in your mother tongue, you always have the perfect word, the perfect expression, everything to convey that thought. You have idioms and perfect words to just convey what you're feeling. But in that foreign language, no matter how hard you're racking your brains out, you cannot find the word for it. At first, I thought I was not good enough at that foreign language. I thought that maybe I haven't spent time enough. But it turns out that this was wrong. That feeling right there on my mouth, where words are always gonna come out in my mother tongue, that feeling where I always feel at home and at ease when speaking my mother tongue, is what marks the distinction. The ability to always be able to talk, to convey our feelings, expressions, everything about us, is what makes our mother tongue special. And most of us don't not recognize that. Take the word thương in Vietnamese, for example. If you put that on Google Translate, it'll probably translate into something like love or adore. But I'm here to tell you that neither of those translations are right, so don't trust Google Translate. Thương in Vietnamese can mean a hint or a very deep state of affection, but it is also a hint of empathy. In some cases, it encompasses both. However, if you go online and search for a bunch of Western language dictionaries, or even in English, you notice that the word isn't there. Love doesn't mean responsibility or anything like that. And no matter how hard you try, you'll never always find the perfect word. It wasn't until I put myself into a view of a foreign language that I realized the distinction, the specialness of our mother tongue lays in what is around us, what has been so familiar with us all along. The thing that just has been there all along, that makes us us, that makes our mother tongue so special. There will always be a tune in every other 7,000 languages. There will be more words similar to tune. And if one day our mother tongue get lost or repressed or something like that, that feeling, that state will be lost forever. That's how important it is. If you go online and search a little bit about how many Chinese speakers are there are probably 1.8 billion Chinese speakers. Well, there's only 18 million Vietnamese speakers, so that's way less. But that doesn't make our mother tongue less important or less fascinating or, less valuable. The numbers aren't a good way of comparing. Each language is distinctive and worth learning in its way. But how about us? The values are there. They're noticeable values that every foreign, language learner can see. But what about the values that connect us? The values that we feel personally unique. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought, what values am I learning that is directly changing my life? Let's come back to the word thương, right? So if you're Vietnamese, and if you're not, I'm going to tell you as well. Thương is a symbol of collectivism in Vietnamese society. Thương is used for parents to their children, people of the family members, or just people around. It's a gesture of responsibility, mutual trust, and affection. In Vietnamese society, collectivism is valued, and language is a main way for us to express how we're feeling, right? However, in Western societies, if you look at it, individualism is not valued as much as collectivism is not valued as much as individualism. So even if you put the word thương in the dictionary, it won't change that much. If you put the word thương, then probably nobody, or just a little bit, will use it, because those words don't reflect what they think. Those words are not a part of their values or culture. So the next time, stop comparing which language is better or worth learning more. Think of it like this. Our mother tongue reflects our rudimentary values, while foreign languages reflects values of different groups, right? So we cannot expect a language which reflects values of different groups of people to serve perfectly what we're thinking. Only the values, the cultural identity, what we believe, our traditions, everything is confined into that language. Who we are, what we believe, who we love, everything that has ever been around us is confined in that our mother tongue. So our mother tongue is special because it's a method to express our cultural heritage. Being able to know our mother tongue well is a gateway to connect to our roots, our heritage, our values, and an act of preserving all of those values. Who you are can only best be expressed in the mother tongue. That's where who you are is the realist version of you. So we come to the conclusion. Learning foreign languages is a way to embrace our mother tongue. And our mother tongue is the only thing that carries our values and identity. The moment you begin looking at your mother tongue from the perspective of a foreign language, it gets magical. I get that you're good at your mother tongue, but imagine knowing all of those values, all of those words, what they mean, what's underlying. You'll become a powerful communicator. You'll be able to express yourself, who you are, and what you believe. As Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, one of the most prominent figures in German literature, has said, he who knows no foreign languages knows nothing of his own. The next time you learn a new language, don't try to think like the grass is always greener on the other side until you go there and you realize that language cannot express who I am. Language is not just a way to reach out to this world, to the people around us of different nations. It's a way to reach into ourselves and understand who we are. So, yes, learning foreign languages is a key to success in communicating to outside people and to who we are. Thank you.